the last one, the reinflation. And I want to shout out Joseph Wang. He's known as the Fed Guy 1-2 on Twitter. He was nice enough to come on my channel about 2 months ago. He was the first guy that really kind of walked me through just how reinflation could play out. Right.
Yep.
I always knew it was a possibility, but I discounted it probably too much. But
Yep.
now I'm looking at the situation like you, and I'm like, this is not a tail risk. This is like one of the three real possible outcomes. So a reinflation environment really goes down to probably GDP goes higher just because numerically speaking,
Correct.
but CPI, PCE, PP, all these other things reverse. Asset prices reinflate. It's just, I mean, if you own assets, it's great. Don't get me wrong, especially if it's assets with fixed rate debt, you're a genius.
Correct.
But it's not good long term. Reinflation is not a good story.
No, it's not. And as everybody likely knows at this point, it disproportionately, to your point you just made right there, if you own assets, it's great. It disproportionately affects the lower end of the market. So the folks that don't own assets, the folks that have to drive a car to work every single day, they can't work remotely. If oil prices pop, that kills them, squeezes them. But yeah, I mean, this is by no means a outside tail risk type event that could play out. This is how markets have behaved historically a lot of times. So what you've seen is the Fed starts to raise rates. Everyone gets comfortable with 2 or 3, 4 months worth of inflationary data that comes back down. The Fed preemptively cuts interest rates in that environment, which reinflates the market. And if you look at what happened just a month ago, that's a massive inflationary pressure. What I'm talking about a month ago is the Federal Reserve meeting that took place, because they said, okay, well, they didn't say what the market took it as. I'll be clear on that. The market took it as they're done raising interest rates. They're going to cut next year. That's not what they said, to be very clear.
Not what they said, but that's what the market heard.
Right. And so you've had since a 10% run in equities in the S&P 500. You've had a 6% run in bonds. And so anybody that holds assets, it doesn't matter what it was that they held, is now significantly richer. What do people do when they're richer? They spend more money. There's no way around that. And so that's an inflationary pressure. We still have this complete, utter chaos that's playing out in the Middle East. You know, Israel just went back on the offensive in Gaza, and that is a bigger religious war that's playing out there than what the market is covering at this point. You have Iranian-backed militant groups that are now firing missiles out of drones, out of commercial tankers that are moving through the Red Sea, which is a supply chain disruption. You have governments that have just about the most tenuous relationships they've had around the world right now, namely a relationship between us and China. So you have a reshoring. You have us trying to generate our own chips here domestically, which not only increases the cost of the chip because of the input labor costs, but it also comes with a massive factory build out here in the United States and a CHIPS Act that's just spilling liquidity into the market. There's still $2 trillion slated to be put to work during the first Biden administration that will wrap up a year from now.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that CHIPS money is still coming.
Oh my gosh, and it's huge.
It's still coming.
So to say that inflation is an exogenous event that is not predictable or foreseeable in any way. I'm not saying I'm predicting it. That's how I'm getting it. But to say that it is a foregone conclusion that inflation is behind us is just a ludicrous thought. But that's the way the market's pricing things right now.